Hey, 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 it's Tia, baby. And I am back with another late video. So I just finished watching the podcast of Sean, who is one of the members, the founding members of Boyz II Men. If you do not know who Boyz II Men is, then you are living under a rock. Boyz II Men is a 90s sensation. Um, Four men R&B group. They known as one of my top um, R&B choice of bands who have delivered some classic ballads like Bended Knee, I'll Make Love to You, the infamous song Mama. Most people, especially of color, uses that song during Mother's Day. Um, Thank You. If you don't know that, that's one from their first albums. What else? They also did a song. Well, I don't think the whole group, but I know Wanye. He's one of the lead singers. He did a couple of songs with other artists, like One Sweet Day with Mariah and Broken Hearted with Brandy. But yeah, those are the classic ballads that Boyz II Men is known for. I'm sure they still are recording. I know one of the members, the one that has the bass voice, the deep voice. He's not in the group anymore, but I think they're still performing. I don't know any of their newest songs if they have any, and I know Wanye's kids are very popular on social media because I think all of his kids can sing and they sound just like him. But if you don't know who Boyz II Men, go to YouTube, type in Boyz II Men songs, and check them out. They are the ish. They were the ish, and they still are the ish. And their songs are timeless and classic. Um, so, like I said, one of the founder members, Sean, I don't know his last name, but he interviewed Selena's sister, Suzette. It was an hour long. It was a great interview. I watched every bit of it. I was falling asleep a little bit because it's late, of course. But it was a great interview. She basically talked about their upbringing as just as siblings. Um, Basically some of the things that we saw in the movie, but also, things that weren't shown in the movie. She talked about how they formed a group. We all know about that. We all know that her father um, had a restaurant and it went bankrupt because of, I guess in the interview she said it was some bad oil. So they lost, a lot of businesses lost a lot of money and went bankrupt. So they had to move in an apartment in Corpus Christi, I think. And no, I don't know if the apartment was in Corpus Christi, but I know they had to move in an apartment. Then they moved with a relative in Corpus Christi, and they formed a band. He formed a band. He just heard Selena singing, so he was like, "Oh yeah, I can make a band." She was talking about how she didn't want to be a drummer. She went at it with her father countless times because she felt like girls aren't drummers, and so she eventually gave in. After some time, she did mention that one of her cousins was the original drummer in the band, but his father didn't want him to do it, and so they moved him back to Arizona. So she had to be the drummer, and she learned. Her father taught her how to play drums, as well as AB taught her how to play drums. Like she said, she didn't get professional, lessons. And so she was just talking about that and her struggles with being a drummer. Like she said that she would use her whole arm, her full forearm instead of her wrist, because most drummers use their wrist to navigate the drumsticks and things. So she said that when it was around the time before Selena had passed, that she was trying to perfect her craft in drumming, but she passed. And when Selena passed, she had no longer felt interest of being a drummer anymore, because she wasn't trying to work with anybody new, especially when she was one of the owners of Selena y los Dinos. She wasn't going to answer to a new singer. So her heart wasn't in it anymore, which is understandable. And Sean from Boyz understood that. And so she also talked about, Selena's favorite artist, and it was a artist she kept bringing up. I know her name was Lucille. I do not know how to pronounce her last name. I'm not going to butcher it, but that's what she said, that Selena was inspired by her, especially when she moves her wrist, wrist when she dances on stage. She said she was inspired by her, and she said that most artists are inspired by other artists and then they make it their own. And I noticed that, that is true. Of course, when Beyonce, she's inspired by a lot of artists, and she, takes certain things from certain artists and she makes it her own. But over the years, they used to say that Beyonce would copy, but a more politer way is inspired. So, and I noticed that in Selena, I noticed when I have watched Selena's performances, as well as the way she moved, the way she dressed, she gives a lot of Janet. And Suzette has mentioned that Janet was one of her top five favorite female artists, and I can tell. I noticed like Janet Jackson back in the 80s and 90s, she's known to wear like big button up blouses, and she tucks them in with her slim jeans and the big belts, and I noticed that in Selena, especially in the Amor Prohibido song, she had wore her husband's shirt with the fitted jeans and the big belts. And so I know that she got that from her. Also, I noticed that she had, in one of her pictures, she had a cap, a baseball cap with the letter X on it. Usually back then that was, to represent Malcolm X, especially in the movie Malcolm X that Denzel Washington played in. And I know in the movie Malcolm X, at the end of the movie, a lot of celebrities were wearing that hat, and Janet was wearing that hat as well. And I think that movie came out in like 92, 93. I could be mistaken, but I know it was around that time. Also, just the way she danced, sometimes some of the robotic dances that she has done, and she doesn't do robotic dances a lot, but she has done them. And especially when she just freestyle dancing. And I know that a lot of it was inspired by Janet. But that's not a bad thing, and I wasn't stating it was a bad thing, because like Sierra, the singer Sierra, she's a big fan of Michael Jackson and Janet, and I noticed in her dance moves they're pretty much similar. Same with Beyonce. She does a lot of in recent years, she's done a lot of, robotic dances and it seemed like it's inspired by Janet and Michael. So, and Janet is inspired by Michael, because a lot of her movements are similar to Michael's. So it's very common for artists to be inspired by other artists, and they take certain things from certain artists and make it their own. Like Selena's wardrobes, like for example, like the bell bottoms wardrobe that she had during the it was, people, the misconception was that's her last concert. That wasn't her last concert. That may have been her last biggest concert. But the infamous purple outfit, she was inspired, and with not. I think that wasn't even the only bell bottom outfit she had. She has a green one. She has a blue one. She has two purple ones. I think she was buried in one of them. They were all inspired by Cher. So, it's very common, like I said, that artists, be inspired by other artists. And so she was talking about that. She also was talking about her 5 top artists were female artists. She mentioned it was Whitney. It was a group that I don't know about that I guess it formed in the 80s. Janet, Paula Abdul, and she didn't mention another one, but I think it's I know she stated Mariah Carey because she forgot to mention it, but in one of Selena's interviews, she mentioned Mariah Carey as one of her favorite artists. So yeah, so I'm gonna say it was Mariah Carey, or it could have been Madonna, but I think it was Mariah Carey. So yeah, what else did they talk about? He did talk to ask her where was Suzette the day that she found out that the day that Selena passed. She said that she was at home with her husband, and that she was just awakened from her sleep because they had just came home from a performance, and she said normally they come home late in the morning, like 4 or 5 in the morning, and so they go to sleep around that time and they get up late. So she had just gotten up and she got a call from a family friend, or I think a family friend, and their relative worked at the police station, and so she had informed her that she needed to get to the hospital because something happened to Selena. He also asked were any of the other that all the other members of the family was at their designated places, and I forgot what she said, but that's where she was at home. She also talked about her time, Selena's moments of doing the English album, and she was setting the record straight that the Hana music wasn't going anywhere, that they were still going to, do music together. It's just that she wanted to do something different. But I think she was also kind of afraid that the band wouldn't be the same, or that they wouldn't be making any more music. But her sister, was convincing her like, yeah, we're not going anywhere. We're going to, be right here. Because at first she wanted her sister to do drums for her, but her sister didn't know how to do mainstream. So, and then she was considering Chris to be the guitarist for her band in the English world, but he wasn't too sure if he wanted to do that because he was thinking about getting his own band together. So that was like up in the air. So, she was just worried about if it was going to change once she become, popular in the English world. And they were just trying to convince her like nothing's going to change. We'll still be here. When you take a break from the mainstream, we will be here to do more music in the Hana world. So, I guess she felt better about it. She was also saying that they were also talking about how they did everything themselves. They did their own makeup. They did their own hair. They did their own wardrobe. I'm not going to confirm and deny that's true about the wardrobe, because I'm like, she said that Selena did her own wardrobe even up until she passed. And I'm like, well, where did Martin Gomez come in the picture? Because yes, she drew her own costumes, but he brought them to life. So I figured that he was part of the wardrobe, department for her. He was her stylist, because yes, she drew the costumes that she was going to wear for her concerts, but he brought them to life by sewing them. I'm not saying she didn't partake in that, but I wouldn't just leave him out of it, because she made it seem like Selena was doing all of that by herself. And she may have done most of the stuff by herself, but he helped her. In the wardrobe field, he helped her. He influenced. She influenced him to leave his clothing job at Bloomingdale's. It was one of those high end stores, either Bloomingdale's, Nordstrom's, I don't know. No, it wasn't Bloomingdale's. It was, what is it, Hillard's? It's a store that is equivalent to Bloomingdale's or Hex, if you remember Hex. But Dillard's, I think. I'm not Hillard's, Dillard's. And to be her, on her team full time, and he took the chance and he did it. So I don't think I don't think that she did her wardrobes by herself consistently. I think he played a part in it as well. I'm not throwing any shade to her or saying, oh, she said anything bad. I'm just saying he was a great deal of her life later in her later career, as her costume designer, But I don't know. I wasn't there, so I don't know. She could be right. What else did they talk about? They talked about her favorite restaurant, not Selena's favorite, but so it was more like they talked about Selena, but he mainly tried to get to know Suzette as her sister. So after listening to the entire interview, I see a softer side of Suzette. I think she's cool. I don't know her personally, but based on her interview, she seemed, very mild-mannered, cool, mellow, things of that nature. She also addressed the fact that they had to force the movie Selena to come out because they got word that Hollywood was going to make a movie about Selena, and they was going to put, they was worried that they was going to put anything in it. And that could be a valid statement. However, their family is the owners of Selena everything. So if Hollywood put out a movie about Selena, all they can do is they can sue them for defamation of character and for copyright purposes. Because, they own everything. I don't know if they own everything at that time. Maybe they didn't own everything at that time. I don't know. But even still, because they can't stop Hollywood from, now they can because of the ownership rights and things that they have over the years. But I would think back then they could still sue them for defamation of character if they were worried about that they will put out something about Selena that wasn't true. But I also say that if you know that Selena had more of a innocent life, why are you worried about what somebody else put out? And because if you know it's false, then sue them from defamation of character. That's why I'm like, I don't think that is, 100% the case. Because if that's the case, everybody who had done a biopic would have done the same thing. Like Tina Turner. Anybody could have did a Tina Turner biopic before Tina Turner did her own biopic, because the actual Tina Turner was involved in What's Love Got to Do with It. She the one that picked Angela Bassett to play her. She knew that Angela Bassett didn't look like her, but she saw herself in Angela, and she thought she got to know her and thought she was good for the part. But still, Hollywood can still do a Tina Turner biopic without her consent. And if it was something, and if they did put something out, and if it wasn't right, and if she felt that they were demolishing her character, she can sue them for defamation of character. So she didn't rush a movie out. Michael Jackson, they done so many Michael Jackson biopics, and they did. I think they did, and most of them they did while Michael Jackson was still alive, and you know, so that's why I'm like, I don't know if he sued them or anything, but so that's why I'm like, I mean, is that really the real reason? Because there's a lot of biopics that are out here. Like, okay, prime example, the Aaliyah biopic. Now, Aaliyah's family is similar to Selena's family. Like, they basically have Aaliyah on lock. Like, they have ownership on everything. So it's like very hard to it's very hard to do a biopic on Aaliyah, but Hollywood or whoever found a way to work around it. It was the worst biopic. They couldn't play her actual music because they did a unauthorized biopic. They didn't ask the family, or they could either, if they did, they didn't come to no agreement. It was a mess. But like I said, I don't think they can really do anything about it, because Hollywood has a lot of power and can maneuver around, the family and still make a movie. So them putting out a movie before Hollywood, it doesn't matter, because they can still do it. Look at Aaliyah's family. Look at the Aaliyah biopic. Hollywood still did it in spite of Aaliyah's family not being in agreement, not authorizing it, and not being a part of it. So, like I said, and then like the Whitney biopics, plenty of them, and they couldn't. The latest one they couldn't use. Now I don't know. I think some of the family was involved in it, like like Whitney's sister-in-law or whatever. I don't know, but they couldn't use. I don't think they did. I don't think it was authorized by the family, because if they did, they would have used Whitney's music in the song in the movie. They had to get Deborah Cox to sing her songs, because she's like the only artist that sounds similar to Whitney. So she did all of Whitney's songs in the movie, and the actress was just lip singing those over Deborah Cox's voice. So like I said, I don't know if that's if that's their story and they sticking to it, that's cool. And if that's really what happened, I'm not going to argue them down on it, because like I said, I wasn't there. But it just seems kind of like really, like, you really going to have us believe this? But it might be true. And if it is, I will be quick to apologize. But I don't think it mattered if they put out a movie first before Hollywood, because Hollywood can do a lot of stuff. They have a lot of power, unfortunately, for the good and the bad. And so I don't think that would have stopped them. But, who knows? But yeah, overall, and then also Sean was talking about, how he was trying to figure out how Selena y Los Dinos and Boyz II Men have never crossed paths, because they both rose to stardom around the same time frame. And he said that their group performed in the same areas in Texas. But Suzette was saying, well, maybe because they was during a rodeo, they only performed on Sundays. He's an R&B group, so more than likely their group is probably performing on Friday nights or Saturdays. So that's probably what she was like. That's probably why they didn't cross paths, but she really don't know why they didn't. But He also revealed that Boyz II Men had some albums in Spanish, which most artists do. They do translate. They do the same song, English songs, but they record them in different languages. Like I know Beyonce has done it. I Michael Jackson has done it. I want to say Mariah Carey has done it, but so many artists has done those things. Um, yeah, so that was the gist of the. I don't know if she got her maybe she had some work done on her mouth because it sounded like something was in it. At first, I thought she had a grill, and I'm like that. Maybe that's what's making her sound like she has a lisp, or maybe she had a retainer in her mouth because I know a retainer can make you sound like you have a lisp, or if she had veneers, but I don't know. Or maybe her mouth is just sore. Maybe she had get a filling or something. I'm not sure, but it sounded like her voice sounded a little weird during the interview. So yeah, I don't know, but overall, it was a great interview. If you haven't seen it, catch it. I think it's called Keeping Up with Selena, with Sean. I don't know the name of his podcast, but just look up Sean from Boyz II Men podcast, or put Keeping Up with Selena, Sean from Boyz II Men. I don't know, but it's on YouTube. It is on YouTube. It's like an hour and 4 minutes long. He also did an acoustic version of I Can Fall in Love. No, is it I Can Fall in Love? Either I Can Fall in Love or Dreaming of You. He did it. A supporter of mine sent me a snippet of it. You can watch it on Suzette's IG, and I think Sean's IG. I don't know his IG verbatim, but if you know Suzette IG, it's on there. So I think that's all I have for today. I will get back with you with another video. I hope this video serves you well. I hope I made sense. I hope I was clear. All of the good things. So I'll come back with another video. Peace.